Alma Har'el is a true visionary. Her first documentary, Bombay Beach, won top prize at the Tribeca Film Festival, and her latest project, Love True, has got great reviews as well. So hopefully everybody who's watching this has by now heard about Free the Bid. But for those that haven't heard about Free the Bid, can you just talk a little bit about it, and just, I'd love to know how it came about, and just talk about like some of the brands and the individuals and the agencies, just some of those people that have taken the pledge.
So Free the Bid is an initiative I started just 2 weeks ago, which is kind of incredible. I can't believe
it, yeah.
how fast it went. But it's basically an initiative that asks ad agencies and brands, as well as production companies, to take a pledge and make sure that on each triple bid job there's a mandatory female bid. So 1 out of 3 is going to be a woman. And what we have seen when I started working on it is that a lot of the reels and a lot of the women that might be considered, if at all, don't make the cut because the reels aren't as big as broad as after basically years of gender bias and the market being the way it is, there's definitely haven't been the same opportunities for women. So their reels can't compete a lot of times. And the ad agencies feel huge responsibility towards their clients to present them with the best options. And a lot of times, even if they are interested in diversifying, they feel that they might get criticized by the brands for not presenting them with the best 3 options. So there's just kind of a vicious cycle going on where even when there is good intentions, there's a lot of fear around how to approach it and how to make sure the quality of the work doesn't get hurt. So I really think that what Free the Bid does is that it comes out and it lets everybody agree that we're taking an affirmative step towards equality. And the way we do it is just by giving women a voice, like by letting them show their ideas and have and bid on the job. And then, of course, the ad agency and the brand chooses a director they want to go with. But by hearing women and giving them a chance to express their ideas and their creative take, and letting them get into sit at the table.
You're opening the door for them, aren't you?
Just that alone has started to create change so quickly that within 2 weeks we've seen women getting hired for jobs that they've never been hired before. I mean, it's been
within 2 weeks.
It's been overnight. And we've seen about 40 women getting signed to production companies. There's production companies that are starting departments for women that didn't have. When we started Free the Bid, one of the biggest challenges for ad agencies was, are there enough women to even do this? That's what people were worried about. And I started to look into it. The problem was that a lot of production companies have between, I'd say, 8 to 30 directors. Something like that. All of them had 1 or 2 directors. Female directors, So the first step was to go on Free the Bid and kind of get all the women from all the production companies in one place. And we started with 126 women. Now we have 180 women on the site, and I have a list, a growing list every day. There's 5 or 10 more. They've all done great work. And a lot of them are real hustlers, I would say. A lot of them, there's a lot of women out there that have been doing great work for brands that is content or
not so mainstream.
Or not so mainstream, but it's
good.
Beautiful work. And actually they've been operating with production companies direct to brands and all sorts of things that are happening in the advertising world that women finds themselves in. So we're kind of trying to actually feature only women that are signed with production companies that we think are leading production companies. We want the resources not to be to still be curated, because we want the agencies to trust it and not feel like they have to go through so many.
I was going to say, I mean, do you sort of as a director, do you also curate who comes onto the website? Because it's an incredible resource for agencies, it really is. I mean, I actually did the exercise about a year ago where I was trying to find a woman director. I was working with a female creative director, and it wasn't necessarily a female product.
That's how it starts, though.
But we just wanted
That's
to
how it
find
starts.
good women.
There's about 3% of all creative directors are women.
Yeah.
So when you do work with a woman, a lot of times that's how it starts, and you say, hey, maybe we should get a woman director, and that's how it started in a lot of the offices.
Yeah. But
so what happened? You tried to find one?
Well, we did, and actually at the time, it was probably more like 2 years ago, everybody seemed to be like, there was some amazing fashion and beauty directors, and it was very much the female subjects. Some stood out, and it was actually sort of women that came from like a documentary background, and as brands are buying more into the sort of the humanity of storytelling, it felt like it was really ripe and perfect timing for women from documentaries to sort of, shine. But I love the website.
And we don't want it to stay in that box, though,
yes,
because what you're describing is exactly what is happening to women directors. So, first of all, to take it a step earlier, the women directors in general are not trusted with bigger budgets, and a lot of them go into documentary. So we see in film schools that we have 50% women, but when they come onto the market, they're not hired. So a lot of them find themselves in documentaries, which is a much more independent form of making films. That's how I started. I made 2 documentaries because I couldn't actually get hired on certain jobs that I wanted, and I just literally took my car, went to the desert and shot a documentary, and then it ended up winning Tribeca, and then I started getting jobs in commercials because of that. But up to there, that was my way in. So a lot of women come from documentary because this is where they can just go and do their thing, and nobody can tell them no. I've done a campaign for Airbnb, and two campaigns for them, and they were both with an advertising agency named Pereira and Odell. And when I continued to direct, I did a few commercials, and I realized that I'm the only woman on the set most of the time. I mean, there was
not just directors, it's DPs.
Oh, it's just everywhere. We're going to change. We have to change everything. Hair and makeup. Sometimes there's another girl or two in other departments. A lot of times, sometimes there's producers. Because my opinion is that people feel much more comfortable to have women take care of things for them, but they don't really feel so comfortable trusting them with budgets and the vision and the creation, which is, and you see it on the set a lot. So I was seeing that, and I was also seeing that I'm always up against male directors, always 2 other guys, and I would hear back that they decided not to go with a woman. They would say that.
Do they literally say that?
Yes.
You see, I think in our business, there's very few agencies, and it's been like this forever, really. Very few agencies that will take risks, and even if it's a woman or a young director who maybe has got one great film, but not like a great, or maybe he hasn't got a specific thing on his reel. I think a lot of brands and a lot of agencies just don't like taking risks. That's not what advertising is about.
I mean, it should be, though, first of all.
Because there are the good ones.
It should be. It should be about that, actually, because it's about good ideas, and good ideas come from new voices a lot of times that can tell stories and bring perspectives and point of views that haven't been shown. And also, I do understand, though, that because it's such a competitive market and people try to serve their brands and are afraid to lose their accounts and all that stuff, that creates a lot of fear-based thinking. So that feeds into that and actually, makes the gap bigger and bigger. So I was seeing all that happening from my perspective as a female director, hearing a lot of things, seeing a lot of things, and then I was approached by Mashable to do an interview about the situation. By a reporter named, has the greatest name ever. Her name is Valentina Valentini. I'll never forget that. And she approached me and she said that she's been researching it because everybody's buzzing about the Hollywood numbers.
Yeah.
And she suddenly realized that in advertising, the numbers are as worse,
Yeah.
if not
Worse,
even
yeah.
worse. So we did the interview, we spoke about it. Some women chose to be anonymous on that interview because they were very worried about their livelihood. And I was very outspoken about it because I really, truly think that it's the only way to bring change is to speak about it and take that risk, you know. And I did the interview. I said a lot of things in it that maybe have been hard, and I got a lot of reactions. So people started to talk to me about it, and one of the people that reached out to me was PJ Pereira from Pereira and Odell, who I did Airbnb with, and he asked me to come to dinner, and I came, and he said that he read my interview and he was really inspired by it, and we haven't worked since then on any commercial. And he said he was really inspired by it, and he realized a lot of times women do get cut off before they get into the mix because the reel isn't as wide or broad and strong.
Yeah.
So he decided internally within his agency to ask for a mandatory female bid. And when I heard that, I said, this is it. Because this is really all I need is, there's a lot of boards that I never get to pitch on or, you know, bid on because they're not tampons, and they're not female empowerment, and they're not low budget, and they're high budget, and they want, and my reel isn't broad and can't compete with somebody that's a man that has been doing commercials for 10 years. So I said, this is it, because I know women have ideas. So I went home, did this PDF that basically just, you know, explained it, and you know, started sending it to pretty much anybody I could. And it was really a work of like Mission Impossible, kind of like trying to get to all these people, and then one person would send us to another person, and
because it went viral. I mean,
and then it went viral. It was like the PDF went viral. It was extremely funny to watch, but nerve-wracking too, because the day before we launched, suddenly all the really big agencies came in. Because we were more with the hot shops, you know, we were like talking to Mother, and we were talking to PJ. Then, you know, and then Susan Credle came in from FCB, and it's just people, it started to really grow, and just got great help from Mother and PJ, and then reached out to, he connected me with Kat Gordon and Cindy Gallup, who's such a queen.
Fabulous. Oh my God,
oh man, I was just like...
Yeah, and she really says it as it is. It's like,
oh yeah,
she's the only way. She's one of my role models. She's really amazing.
She really is to me too, and she's been very helpful to me as I was putting it together. There were so many decisions about how to roll it out, and once a lot of agencies pledged, they all felt invested in it, and they wanted it to be something they can stand behind. And I had to kind of make a lot of decisions, because you can imagine when you have 20 creatives and CEOs wanting to say something about what it should be called or how it should be done.
Because at that point you hadn't come up with
nothing.
Free the Bid.
I mean, it was nothing. It was my PDF with the idea. So so it was like kind of like a really hard month, and also speaking to all the women and a lot of companies that we wanted to put on the website, and having that concept of getting all these people that usually are competing with each other come together for this. And so it was incredibly political at points, but mostly it was just very inspiring to see how many people came in, and then like literally the last few days, as I was closing the website, and people were suddenly, the very, very big agencies joined in the last minute, and they were adamant to be there when it's launched, which was incredible. And that actually, it made the news, you know, and it made it go worldwide overnight. It's really been growing so fast and so beautifully, and what's been very, very helpful is that the brands have started to join us. So
which is huge.
Today we announced that HP is going to globally, they took a pledge globally to have a woman bid on every advertisement they do with all of their agencies.
Yeah.
Antonio Lucio, if you know who he is just such a forward-thinking man and has been working on this topic before that, but he's been a huge supporter, and he kind of found a way legally to work with all of his offices and everything to do a very formal pledge that they gave us, and it was like one of our first really signed, organized documents that lay out everything that it means, and he signed it, and now other brands are joining, and it's been a trip. It's just been a trip.
Yeah, incredible. So maybe more agencies can also look to themselves to think, yes, this is great, we're pledging this, but let's not stop it there. Like, how can we look at ourselves to do more?
I think once the conversation is there, it's just gonna keep happening and feeding itself, but it's our responsibility to keep feeding the conversation too.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to just hype something up and, you know, write a few things on Twitter and move on with your life. And the hard thing is to keep the conversation going and to see the results and then celebrate them. Celebrate the results. So when the good work is being done, when diversity happens, when women do things that otherwise wouldn't have happened in creatively, because this is also what this is about, is making better work.
Yeah.
Creatively, you know, putting new voices and a new language into it. I have a whole other way of looking at advertising than most men that I hear talking about it.
Yeah.
I look at advertising to begin with differently, and I think a lot of other women do. And we have different ways of wanting to see ourselves represented in advertising. We want to see different ways of seeing women. And all those things, when they happen, we have to celebrate them, and then if the brands feel more connected to their female consumers, that would just like, all this thing is just going to roll by itself, you know. And female consumers are now so big. It's such a, I mean, regardless of the fact that we're 50% of this world, 85% of women, I think that's the number, it's, they say between 80 and 85 are kind of in charge of purchase making decisions in households. So you want to talk to women. Women are tired of getting men to tell us what to look like and what to buy. We make our own money now. We're just you know, it's just not, and it's not cool. It's not cool that you do all these commercials of empowerment of women, but you only get male directors to direct them. That's not cool.
No, I mean, it's going to change. But let's talk about you a little bit, you know, and I mean, I'd love to get your thoughts, having sort of come from more of a documentary background, where you obviously have, you know, more freedom, you make the decisions yourself.
Right.
How do you feel about working in advertising, where sometimes it's very structured and, you know, often there's sort of like a lot of layers?
Right.
How do you deal with that?
So I actually came to documentary. What I did before that was music videos, and I did a lot of that and worked with a lot of artists and labels and things like that. And I was I wanted to make films, and I wanted to also sustain myself financially as a filmmaker. And I really wanted to get into advertising, and I couldn't. I just couldn't break into it. So I went into the documentary, not necessarily because I am a documentarian or a journalist, but because it offered me the freedom that you spoke about, and because I genuinely am very interested in real stories and people, and you know, I come from a social economical background that connects me to those kind of stories in a genuine way. And I also just visually felt that within the documentary genre, and that's what my work has been like, is I can infuse it with whatever I wanted.
It's an art form. I mean, there's the authenticity, but there's a sort of a very strong visual sense to them.
Thank you so much. So my first documentary was had dance in it, and it had music by Bob Dylan and the band called Beirut that I've worked with before that, doing music videos for them. And it was very visual. It never had a talking head or somebody talking to the camera. And then after that, Shia LaBeouf saw it at Amoeba Records and borrowed it, and he reached out to me and really wanted to work with me, and we ended up doing a music video for Sigur Rós.
Oh, yeah.
That
So he was involved in that?
he stars in it. He's the
Oh God, I didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was like kind of his first foray into like the artistic
I would
after
never,
the more
ever guess that was him.
I know, and so that was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life, having him come into it and do it, and we had such an incredible time working on it. Like, I'll never forget it. And after we finished it, it won, you know, best music video at the Webby Awards and all these things, and suddenly I started to get more and more boards after that. And then I tried to do my second film, couldn't get it financed as it is, and he came in.
This is Love True, yeah.
And he came in and financed it.
Yeah, I read
and he's
that.
an executive producer on it, and and we premiered it in Tribeca, and now I'm going to premiere it at the London Film Festival.
Fantastic.
So I have been coming from documentary, but my world and my, you know, the way I see things is very visual, and it is very much tied into things that I find iconic in many ways visually, but I really love the line, to walk the line between things that are real and intimate and hold a truth to them, and things that are fantastical and dreamy and iconic or archetypical and things like that. And the hardest thing for my films to get financed, and that's the reason it's been so hard for me to start, is that they don't fit into any genre so well. They're not really a documentary. They have dance sequences in them. They have actors. My new film has actors in them playing the people when they were young and who they are afraid to be, and then they interact with them. So they're not like purely a doc, and they don't really fit in. To me, they're a doc because they tell real stories. I think everything else doesn't matter. It's just like an art form of how you tell the story. So to me, they're a doc, but they're definitely not, it definitely doesn't matter to me. I wouldn't even call them that. The only reason to call them that is because the film festivals need to put them in a category. So same thing with commercials. To me, it's not about, oh, is this visual storytelling? Is this a doc? Who cares? Is this a good idea?
Exactly.
Is this a good idea? Is this a brand that is cool, that I want to work with, that is interested in doing something that connects them to their consumers in a way that is relevant? So that's what it is to me about. And is this creative, somebody I'm inspired by their work, you know? Do they have a kinship to somebody that loves to use their imagination in any form? So it's really, to me, all about that, and less about the you know, the tags and the
no, absolutely. What's next for you? Because I know you're getting on a plane to go back to England to the BFI for your latest film, but do you have a feature or another documentary, or what?
I have a feature and a TV show that are kind of in development, and then I'm doing I hope I'm now in London. I'm going to be a week in the London Film Festival, and I'm doing a few panels and things like that, and then I'm going to work with one of my favorite musicians on a very big project that is going to be kind of a dance piece and a film, you know, but a short film that is kind of a dance piece and slash music video theater, immersive theater thing. It's like kind of a very big thing.
I would love to stay in touch just over the next couple of months, 6 months, year, just to find out how things are going.
Oh, I'd love that.
Like for you personally, but also just
follow up on the free to bid and the numbers. So important. That's the way to do it.
Because we don't want people taking the pledge and then it's like,
that's the way to do it. And you know, we are going to do that also with creativity, and we're all going to do it with a few other places. We're going to definitely, and the brands themselves that are pledging to us want to see numbers, and the agencies too. The agencies are great. I mean, you know, FCB is literally building a whole way to measure all of their bids right now internally, and they're going to have a graph on our site that, like, you could see the numbers. It's going to be.
That's really cool.
It's going to be really cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I know how
thank you
busy
for
you
having
are
me.
for coming in and spending the time.
Oh no, thank you. It was so
Yeah.
much fun.
Thank
And
you.
I love your teacups.
Did you have some tea?
Yes, I finished everything. They're so adorable.